Hi, everybody. This is Joseph Oakley of Stokely Films. I'm the co-writer, the director, and the creator of the new slasher sensation Specimen 6, which will be out on digital in about 4 weeks, DVD very shortly thereafter. Okay, and I am joined here today with my very special co-host, my very wonderful cohort in crime. Again, yes, the very delightfully talented, very beautiful, very tantalizing, if you will.
That's a lot of adjectives there, Joe.
I try. Tell us who you are.
Hello, everybody. I'm Mariana Chipoleta, and welcome to our podcast, No Country for Joe and Mariana.
Yay!
Joe, what are you doing? Joe.
We're doing another nude episode, aren't we?
No, not this time, Joe. I'm sorry.
Oh.
Yeah.
What have we
have to, yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
Come on, Joe. We have a schedule here.
We do. Okay. I think I just like being naked. I'm sorry. Okay.
That's okay. I'm sure everyone loves it. We just love your nips.
I do have delightful nips.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, everybody. So, welcome to another episode. Mariana, what do we do first? We kind of talk about the news a little bit. There's a lot of stuff going on in the horror world news. All right, so I'm going to start out with one thing that I'm really excited about that I kind of discovered. And it's not so much in the news as something like that I've discovered. So Mariana and I have a Twitter account. I've been learning about the social websites, the social
You've been tweeting.
I'm tweeting.
You're tweeting.
I never thought I would tweet before. I'm tweeting. I'm doing the TikToking. We did a TikTok.
We did a couple TikToks, yeah.
I
still haven't figured that one out.
Not quite. I still haven't quite figured out the Instagram thing yet either, but we're doing that. Stokely Films is all over the place, right? Because we got this new movie,
Insidious.
6. Insidious?
Like a little worm squirming everywhere into the social
we're all over the
lives
place
of everybody.
Yeah. Like you never know where we're going to be, but we're there, right? Yeah. So we're all over the social medias. So recently, one of a director that I very much like his work, B. Harrison Smith, liked us on Twitter. And so, I noticed, I didn't know this before, but he has a podcast called the Cinema Podcast. I think it's something like that. Spelled with a C and a Y.
You really need to do your research more.
I do, but I don't. But I've been listening.
We like to wing it here.
I do wing it. I started listening to it today. I listened to 4 episodes today. I started kind of late into it around episode 30. And then I liked it so much I went back to 1 and I listened to the first 3. I'm going to burn through them all. I'm really enjoying it. He kind of talks about independent filmmakers, independent artists, and the trials and tribulations they go through, but also kind of what makes a good film. And it's not there's bad films, but there is bad films and there's good films, but he kind of breaks it down in a very intellectual way, a very logical way. And he takes the cynicism, as he says in the cinema, it says CYN, out of his arguments, because a lot of people nowadays on the internet, when they're typing away and they're doing these reviews and everything, they're not actually reviewing the film. They're reviewing what they feel about the actor of the film, or if they don't like the genre, they almost basically say that. I see that a lot in reviews on IMDb and stuff like that, where they spend 3/4 of their time shitting all over the plot itself, but basically just breaking up the plot, and then right at the bottom they say it was crappy, don't watch it. It's that's the most unintellectual thing I've ever heard about a film. And he kind of breaks it down. He says listen, there's crappy movies, there's movies that you don't like, so if you say a movie sucks, that doesn't mean the movie sucks. It just means that it didn't really connect with you as a person. So say there's the newer Disney CGI sort of films. Not really my thing. I don't go out of my way to watch them and then shit on them. But I recognize that when I do see a film that's all CGI and I'm not caring for it, I know that it's just my perception, because I like practical things. But I know there's a lot of people that do enjoy these things. So he really breaks it down, and he makes you think about these things. What makes a good film? What makes a bad film? And I always try to be positive about films in general because I love movies, whether they're good, whether they're bad. And there's very rarely a film that I feel kind of lets me down in general. But that's often because if that film lets me down, it's because it doesn't have a lot of heart behind it. A lot of heart in the passion and the making of the film. And you can often see that where it just seems like a cash grab. And so he kind of breaks that down too. So I highly recommend going out and listening to that podcast. That's kind of like my big review. Also, I want you people to go out and watch Camp Dread right there with Danielle Harris. Danielle Harris isn't even like kind of the big star of the film. She's a big star. I really love Danielle Harris. That's actually the reason I bought this DVD was because I was like, Danielle Harris, she's beautiful. I love her. She's in like a lot of the Halloween films, and she's in so many other wonderful. She's a great scream queen. She's gorgeous, very talented. Eric Roberts, he shows up. He does his job and stuff like that. I'll do a review. I got a good review that on a short video I'll do later on. But go watch this. It's on Amazon Prime right now. And definitely go check out Cinema Podcast. It's really great. Mariana!
Yes, Joe?
Are you sure we can't get naked right now?
Not right now.
Okay, but soon. Okay.
Soon, I promise.
It's soon right now? Because I want to do it. Okay.
I mean, if you want to, you're sure.
No.
I won't complain.
Mariana, what have you seen? What have you done? What is in the news?
Well, in the news, actually, you know what? I'm going to start with what I've been watching because Joe actually came to visit me very recently, and we woke up Saturday.
Ooh, she out-partied me pretty bad that night. I'll tell you that much.
Go back on our Twitter. You will find a wonderful picture of Joe passed out seconds after he told me that I was never going to outlast him.
You're not going to do that. That's the
Went to the bathroom and I hear snoring. Like, that's how fast it
I don't even remember that. I just remember waking up and like, what happened? Okay, tell us, what do we watch? We did some cool stuff.
So in the morning, we did what we both love to do, which is watch Saturday morning cartoons and drink 18 gallons of coffee. Very strong coffee. To get over the party of the night before. But we were watching G.I. Joe, and that put me so much in the mood for 80s and 90s cartoons because I actually went out of my way to like look up reviews that people have done recently on 80s and 90s cartoons, and they kind of crap on the plot a lot, and they crap on the one-dimensional characters, and you know what? Yes, a lot of them are, but I feel like that was like the era of comedy for cartoons. Like it was raw and it was awesome, and they were trying to, you know, create cartoons for children, but also like parents who are watching it aren't gonna get bored, right? So recently I've been binge watching Darkwing Duck.
I love Darkwing Duck.
Love him.
Favorites.
What's funny is like the first couple of episodes, well, not the very first one, but like 2 of the episodes are punly named after horror movies. And that I love puns, so that definitely was a plus. But there was like the Night of the Living Spud.
Oh yeah, I mean a kid's not gonna get that. I didn't. No, they're not. I was like growing up in the 90s, you know, and I watched that show every week. I loved it. I didn't get that until I don't know 17, 18.
I know.
Yeah.
It's crazy to go back and watch these things. But what about you, Joe? What have you been watching?
Well, you know, actually, I've been kind of catching up on Supernatural, the TV show, Sam and Dean, all that stuff. They finally released the new season of it on Netflix, which unfortunately is kind of an abbreviated season because of all the stuff that happened. They had to stop filming. But there were still 14, 15 episodes for this season. So I've been catching up on that. I love my Sam and Dean. They break my heart every week. I don't want to give it up, like what's going on, because there's so many people that kind of haven't seen it. All I'm going to say is like it's about these 2 brothers that go out and they're killing monsters. You really fall in love with who they are and all their Monster Hunter friends, everybody you meet, and some crazy stuff happens. Sam and Dean have been a big part of my life for the last 15 years. And to be honest, it's like I when I'm not watching the new ones, I go back and watch the old ones because you love the characters, you love the stories. There's so much heart to that show, and it really shows. So I've been catching up on that. Trying my best to anyway. And then I hear, and this is in the news, that in July, their fingers crossed, they're going to be filming the next part of the season, which will technically be the next season for this next fall. So fingers crossed that happens, because I need my Sam and Dean. If it doesn't happen, I'm going to cry myself to sleep at night. So that's what I've been watching.
Well, speaking of rumors, I hear that Stephen King might be doing a little Jason Voorhees story. Is that something you've heard about?
I have heard about that, because we joined this Twitter thing, right?
Yeah.
Stephen King is very well known for being like jumping all over the Twitterverse. And
is that a word, Twitterverse?
It is now. Hashtag Twitterverse, hashtag Joe Vogel is awesome. What I heard was, and obviously this is just a rumor, it's what he said. It's not something that could possibly happen. Even he said it couldn't. But he said he would love to write a Jason Voorhees novel. I mean, just the very thought that Stephen King, the master of horror himself, would love to write a novel about Jason Voorhees. He said he would call it like I, Jason, and it would be through Jason's perspective, because he likes horror films just the way that we do, and he loves horror novels and the horror genre, obviously. And to even contemplate that Stephen King could possibly write a Jason Voorhees novel. Look at this chest, people. It means a big thing to me that I heard that. I mean, even if he did a fanfic, I was like, hey, Stephen King, please just do a fanfic, post it somewhere. I would love it so much. God, that would be so cool. I mean, this is the rumor news, obviously, but you never know anymore. Sometimes these kind of crazy things do happen where somebody says like, oh, hey, Stephen King will let you do this thing if you want, because you're fucking Stephen King. Okay. Mm-hmm. That's what I hear. But speaking of Stephen King, there's something else in the news that I've been hearing about. Yes, look behind Mariana there. Look behind that beautiful facade, as it were. I say a facade because she's a bit like an angry porcupine. And then you look at her and you're like, oh my gosh, she's so beautiful. And then she bites your freaking finger off.
Like a Venus flytrap.
Like a Venus flytrap. And then you try to pet her, and then she's like, spikes your hand. Yeah. She's a badass individual, peoples. There's something in the news, Mariana. While we were in quarantine the last few months, they over in Australia, they actually filmed a new Children of the Corn film. This is pretty cool. They use like the strictest of measures of safety, health measures. Everybody's wearing masks. I don't know what it's like going to be like watching a Children of the Corn movie where everybody's wearing masks, but I mean, I doubt that's going to happen. But
I'm sure they made it work.
Made it work. I'm really excited for this. I've watched a lot of the Children of the Corn films. I wrote it down all wrong, but the director is the same director, Kurt Wimmer, who directed actually one of my favorite films, Equilibrium with Christian Bale. It's this futuristic, not post-apocalyptic, but futuristic film where everybody is burning art and culture, kind of like Fahrenheit 451. And if you try to, and you have to take these pills to make you not have any emotions, And Christian Bale plays one of these police that goes around and burning all of this, culture and everything like that. And he kind of like misses a day or something of taking the pills. Then all of a sudden, like he sees that, oh, there's beauty in the world, And then he decides to go defend it. So it's Fahrenheit 451. And but there's this really cool thing that they do in the film where they kind of called it gun fu. So there's like these badass like martial arts that have something to do with shooting guns and stuff, and it's a badass film. So the guy that directed that is doing the new Children of the Corn, and I'm really excited for it. But here's kind of like the cool thing is that it takes place, it's kind of a prequel to the original. So in the original film, you see just a little bit of what happened before the kids took over the town. It's like in the very beginning of the movie, but hardly any of it. This movie is actually going to be more about those kids murdering all these adults and getting all crazy and stuff like that. Mariana.
Yes.
Mariana Chipoletta.
Joseph Vogley. Kate, can you tell me something?
Yeah.
I want to know how old is the most expired item in your fridge right now?
I would maybe a year. Maybe.
What item is that?
I don't. There's some condiments that are like way tucked in the back that we never kind of like. See, we got like the milk and everything, and the cheese and the meats that are kind of in the front, but we have a deep fridge. But if you dig back there, you're like, oh my god, I don't even know what. No, maybe more, maybe 2 or 3 years when we first moved.
Oh gosh,
it's scary back there. I try not to. There's like a little, things have grown. There's like a little village. They're evolving back there. And then if you like listen, you can hear them like singing and praising their primitive gods in the back of my refrigerator. I think that's
the secret life of expired foods.
It is. Things are going crazy back there. Yeah. I was speaking of like kind of primitive stuff. Well, we're talking about the Children of the Corn and stuff like that. Mariana Chipoletta. Now I've seen a lot of the Children of the Corns, and we were talking about this news and everything like that, and I posed this to you. I said, hey, there's this really cool thing in the news, and you're like, Children of the Corn? Stephen King?
I apologize, Mr. King. I have not read your novels or any of the movies made from your novels and short stories. But that's purely from me being who I am. I am a contrarian by like no fault of my own. It just it has been bestowed upon me to be a contrarian, and therefore he is so popular, and all this stuff is like constantly out there that. And I used to work in a bookstore. I used to work at Barnes & Noble. And so people would be like, Stephen King this and Stephen King that. And I was like, I can't do it. I can't jump on that bandwagon because, I don't know. It's just in my nature. But I'm opening up, and I am now kicking myself because I watched Children of the Corn recently.
Yes. What did you think?
Enjoyed it so much. I can't believe that I've never watched it.
I think it's awesome that you just watched that. Tell us the plot, because it's been a rather long time. I could tell you kind of like a Joe's Swiss cheese brain sort of version of the plot. But since you're young and beautiful and your mind is still very sharp, could you please?
And I just watched it.
She just watched it. Could you please tell us the plot of the movie?
Yes, it's about scary children. I only say that because that's redundant to me. Like
children, your synonyms.
Children are just they're just. I don't like. Sorry, but I don't. They're easily possessed in like every scary movie that there are children in, or they're easily like taken into these cults, and that's basically what this is there is this religion. There's this, first of all, Isaac is kind of like, we were talking about Game of Thrones earlier, and you know what, Isaac kind of reminds me of that asshole Joffrey.
You still confuse me. I haven't seen that show.
God, there's this guy, and he's okay. You know what? You know Isaac. Okay, just imagine Isaac being king of anything. Okay.
John Franklin, who is the actor that plays Isaac, he's incredible in this film, isn't he?
He was 25 when he played this role of a child.
But he looks like he's what, 12 in this? 12, 13. He's super
if that.
I think he has one of the. I don't know what he looks like nowadays, but he's still doing stuff. I watched a trailer earlier about like an evil cat or something that he was supposedly in, but he wasn't in the trailer. But he's incredible in this film as Isaac, and he ends up showing up later on in the series in part 6.
Mm-hmm.
And he gives this incredible performance in this. I mean, even as like being a mid-20s person, I would have given him a freaking Oscar for this performance. I really would have. But
that was an amazing, yeah.
The bolts top to bottom. What happens in this film?
Okay, so there's this town, and it just like right off the bat, it's murder of all of the adults in the town. And I really like that it just like got down to that point, like created that imagery for you, like this is what we're dealing with. You're also kind of like presented with the two children, Sarah and Job, and they're not part. They weren't part of this mass slaughter of adults. So they're really considered. They're not considered outlanders, but they're not considered like part of that cult. And throughout the movie, they're kind of like picked on a little bit. They have, this is like a very strict conservative community, much like the Mormon community and the Amish community. I mean, and so they're not allowed to have like to draw or to have music or anything like that. So, but like, first of all, where the fuck are they getting all of this stuff? By the way, there's no adults around. Where did they get all of these things? This movie raised more questions than it answered.
It's a good movie, I think. In my opinion,
it was a great movie,
and that's where fan fiction comes in, right?
But so basically, the plot is this man and woman they kind of like get stuck in this town. Some weird stuff happens, and the children are crazy. To get into the nitty-gritty of it, like you kind of have like the writing of this movie, the screenplay was wonderful. You've got Peter Horton and Linda Hamilton, who are the couple, and they're annoying as hell. Like they're going through some relationship problems, but I have to say I was kind of hoping they were gonna die just a little bit.
I don't think that was intentional. So it's interesting that you brought up the writing, and I think the writing is incredible in this. I was revisiting some of the scenes themselves just to refresh my memory about everything. I didn't have time to rewatch it since we started talking about this, but George Goldsmith is the writer of the film, because I was listening to the dialogue from these scenes between Isaac and Malachi, and you're like, God, this is actually really good dialogue. This is one of those things I wanted to talk more about in this film, but not particularly right now. But the process of writing dialogue for certain writers can be very difficult. But this guy kind of nailed it when he had these like kids that were trying to pretend to be adults, and they were kind of just reiterating or copying things they read in whatever religious text, maybe the Bible itself, and they were trying to pretend to be the adults that they wanted to be. And I think that really comes across in these characters, in the annoying yuppie couple with Linda Hamilton and the other dude, which I have his name written down here, but it doesn't matter at the moment. But you're correct. I think they're right, and not just because it's based off of Stephen King, because the Stephen King thing is kind of a small story, but to breathe life into an hour and a half film and have great dialogue and everything in it, I really think that this movie kind of does that in itself. So yes, so as you were speaking, I just wanted to say that George Goldsmith, he didn't really do a whole lot of other stuff. He did some like a couple TV things. Some movie called Hot Child in the City. I think it has to do with LA and prostitutes, so I want to see it. So that'll happen soon. And he did, very little things. So it's very interesting that you kind of like had this dude that wrote this like really incredible screenplay, and then there you go. But tell me your thoughts, like kind of overall, Mariana. What did you think of this film. Oh, and tell us a little bit. I mean, we won't give some spoilers about the end or anything like that, but tell us what did you think overall about Children of the Corn and your first really introduction to the Stephen King universe?
Well, like you said, it's based on a short story. So this really is like the thing that I enjoyed a lot was the dialogue. And one of the better scene, like one of the best scenes is towards the end. So spoiler alert, don't listen for a couple of I guess a minute or so. Basically when Malachi is defying Isaac in the end, and he kind of turns on him. And then you have the children, like the rest of the children, they just blindly started following Isaac. Now they're going to start blindly following Malachi because Malachi, I think he portrays more of the like forceful fear that, could potentially amass a group of people to follow you. But then at the end of that scene, like you have this fight between Malachi and derpy Bert. He's just a derp the entire freaking time. But you have this fight between them, and Bert comes up and he's just kind of gives his little monologue, right, about how they're blindly following this guy. And now the children, like, they don't listen to Malachi when he says, get them, he's feeling the same betrayal that Isaac felt. And that was really deep. And you get that in like a few lines. And one other thing is in a little bit before that, sorry, I'm going like backwards in this movie. But in the church scene, where you have John Philbin playing Amos, who is about to be, I guess he's martyring himself because he's 19, and that's why they're offing him. Like,
Supposed to die before they become adults, and the adults
right.
are what's wrong with the world.
You have the girl that was kind of facilitating the whole thing. She says when Bert comes in, she says to one of the kids, get Isaac. But then she says, no, bring Malachi. Like, you can get an authoritative figure, but if you bring down destruction on someone, it's scarier, right? So like I feel like they were these, Isaac and Malachi were these opposing forces, and their dialogue was phenomenal. You've got, I kind of felt like Isaac was in his own image like a savior and a god, and when he's in the circle talking to Malachi, and he's kind of, it's almost like he's casting out, it's almost like when God cast out Lucifer.
Oh, interesting.
You see what I'm saying? Yeah, and Courtney Gaines does an amazing job as Malachi. Like, he was the most malicious thing in that entire movie, and it was wonderful. He's just like going around of his own accord, just like, at first I thought he was trying to please Isaac, and like he was Isaac's lackey. But then you find out he's just going around murdering people without really asking permission. So you have this group, this cult that's against authoritative figures, which you also see from the crucifixion of the cop, the blue man. But then are kind of, what's the word? Not skeptical. When someone does something hypocritical, they're kind of hypocritical because they're watching, or they're following this authoritative figure like Isaac, but they fear this, like, Malachi.
That was the most insightful thing I've ever heard about Children of the Corn. It really was, and I've seen all of these movies. Usually it's just been my buddies and me sitting around drinking saying, this movie is like, there's some cool boobs here, but it's kind of like crappy overall. Not the first one, but some of the sequels. And then you just put it in such an eloquent way, just as you always do, Muddy. It's very fascinating. No, it truly is. You know what? I can't wait. So I think this was a really fun episode, and I love digging into this because you have such an interesting insight into things that I've already been watching for years. So it's intriguing to listen to somebody that is coming to it as a fresh thing as it is. I can't wait till we get to part 6, which is
Yeah, I mean, and now I want to watch all of them, and I'm gonna probably go online and like buy every Stephen King book ever.
oh, I got a whole bunch over here, so I'll just bring them over to your house, okay? So
We'll have some more White Claw.
yes, White part 2. Is there anything else that you had to say about Children in the Corn? I think you did a great job there.
Thank you. I actually have a lot to say about Children of the Corn, but maybe I'll save that for another time when we do like maybe another Stephen King. But I do want to mention one thing.
Okay.
And it's Sarah. How necessary is she? Right? Like there's a couple of scenes that really stuck out to me. One is at the beginning when Joseph, this other child, decides he's gonna run away. And he's gonna run in the darkness of midday and like through the cornfield, through the valley of death, basically. And she yells, "Go! Nobody's looking! Nobody's looking!" Like the narc that she is, okay? And then, and her clairvoyance, it adds that like mystic feeling to the movie and I'm sure to the story, but it's useless if she only does it through crayons because when what's her name? Oh gosh, every time. Vicky, when Vicky is trying to like get her to say why she's in this house alone with there's no, she's trying to get some answers out of her, and Derp Bert goes away, and she's drawing this drawing, and it's a vision of what she's had in the time that she is drawing this. The whole kidnapping is being set up, and movie wise it's great, but here's the thing is if she had just told her like they're coming to get you, I feel like she may have had a little bit more time than waiting for a child to draw it. But then that got me thinking, like, maybe she doesn't actually know, and it's like a guiding hand that draws these pictures for her. So
the thing that walks behind the rose.
Yeah, it like takes her over her, but it not like in a creepy way because she wasn't part of the initial slaughter, so she wasn't part of the initial offering. So
well,
she's just like a vessel.
Yeah, a bit of a dichotomy of sorts kind of working there. So like, yeah, the thing that walks behind the rose, which is like this evil force, and this is definitely part of the Stephen King universe where you have good versus evil, and it gets very literal sometimes, especially in The Stand, but that's a different episode altogether. But maybe that was kind of more of a heavenly force kind of working its way through her to kind of battle the bad forces here.
I don't know that it would really help in battling the bad forces if you're foreshadowing 30 seconds at a time.
It's a good point. That's a good point.
I'm just saying, like, maybe it is a benevolent force, but maybe it's the malevolent force that's like teasing them. I don't know.
Do you think maybe like because it's these forces that we don't understand, like maybe God itself like is like beyond our understanding, so maybe he's just like is kind of like we can't contemplate whether he's good or bad. The same thing with the thing that walks behind the rose is like maybe it's just a force. Maybe it's just a force of nature. It's like a hurricane. A hurricane is neither good nor bad. It simply rips shit up indiscriminately. Yeah. So maybe that's what it is, like just can't understand it. Kind of like my boy Jason here. Yeah.
He's very clear about what he wants.
His thing. He's got his thing. Well, so I think this has been really great. I think we should kind of revisit the sequel. I'm going to revisit the sequels. You'll see them with a fresh eye. Because for good and for ill, there are some very interesting things that happen in the rest of the series. I think like 9 now, and now maybe 10. I don't even lost count because there's the new one coming out. I'm super excited for it. We're gonna start doing kind of these retrospective things. We kind of talked about this before, so we're gonna do Children of the Corn. We're gonna do Jason Voorhees, Friday the 13th, Nightmare on Elm Street, while we're doing the other videos too. So coming up on No Country for Joe and Mariana. We have a lot of really cool topics that we're tackling. We got a lot of really cool guests that are coming on here. I talked to another filmmaker recently that we're going to be able to talk to them and a bunch of their peeps about the film that they worked on. It's a big secret right now, but we'll let you know soon before it happens. Very excited for all that stuff. Mariana Gibaretta.
Joseph Oakley.
Could you recommend a good wine for people to watch Children of the Corn with?
Ooh.
Italian wine, she's a classic cultural broad.
Montepulciano.
Oh God, that sounds delicious.
There's a few different ones, but the red is my favorite.
Oh.
And I think it would go very well with this movie.
Oh. That sounds good. Could you say that one more time for the folks?
Montepulciano.
I like that. Remember that, folks. Go get a good glass of
Montepulciano.
Because I can't say shit like that. And go watch Children of the Corn. It's on Amazon Prime right now. Enjoy Stephen King. And thanks for joining us. Mariana?
Thanks for joining us. Bye.
Bye. We'll talk to you soon. And join us over here. And we'll see you next week.